Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Spiritual Society of Virginia. It's so nice to see us having a standing room only crowd here. That's great. And as most of you know, we start each meeting with the reading of a message. And lately we've been using my most favorite book, Spirit's book, Happy Life. And today's message, of course, is from Joanna de Angelis through the mediumship of Chico. And it is number 161 on page 177. We are all destined for happiness and perfection. It is a long journey, sometimes marked with thorns or strewn with stones. Nevertheless, the course is the same for all. There are no exceptions. People having to face fewer difficulties are reaping the rewards of their behavior in past reincarnations. Likewise, people dealing with many difficulties are suffering from unfortunate deeds. So gain evolutionary ground step by step and rejoice over the blissful destination awaiting you. You are sure to reach it. I don't quite know what to say about this one, other than I think most of us know we're affected by our past lives. And we're very fortunate to be here to be able to work on those little difficulties we've had in our past lives. So let's always take advantage of those opportunities that God gives us each day.
All right, friends, let us all pray together. Remember, prayer is not a ritual for us. It's conversation with God. But when we talk with God together, there is a trick, right? One voice. So it's like practicing mind over matter, focusing ourselves. Don't look at your cell phones. Yeah, just saying, if anyone can. Only Carol can, because she's checking cardiac radio. She's the only one that can do this. Okay, so let us close our eyes just so we can focus more. Breathe in and out and feel this healing air that we are provided by God, O Lord of life. Mother, Father of all of us, we rejoice in this moment, for we are here together cherishing our essence, our spirituality, because we are immortal spirits, thanks to your wonderful mind that created us for happiness, created us to evolve. And we know that it only comes through helping one another. We visualize your spirit doctors, nurses, and therapists who are here, the spirit educators, the teachers of the beyond, who have come to embrace us in renewal, new strength, and hope. We visualize a shower of healing light being poured onto us. And we would like to ask before we begin for those who have their names in the book of prayer, that they also receive the visit of your messengers wherever they are. And may our loved ones who could not be here with us receive this banquet of light. May those who are with us over the internet also feel this togetherness as we listen to the voices of hope, the messengers of the beyond, always reminding us of our beautiful plan in this reincarnation. Certain of your guidance, feeling your protection, we thank you for the permission you're granting us to be here. And so be it. All right, so we're gonna turn on the lights before we go to our rooms and ask ourselves, who has ever felt like a voice of the guardian angel coming and telling us something good? Raise your hand. Yeah, the guardian angel saying, yes, hug your mom, hug your dad, your grandpa, your grandma, right? Be cool, be nice, be patient. Yes, because that's what we came here for. Today we have a special guest, a friend, Leo Vieira. Leo Vieira is a friend whom I met when he was a little kid. No, I'm joking. Still, right?
I can say that.
Yeah, he was like 18 when I met him. We met in Baltimore when the Spiritist side of Baltimore was just a group. And from there, I met Isabella as well. They were dating at the time. Now they have a grandchild. Imagine that, huh? And we don't look that old, huh? So the water works, huh? Drink this water because it works. And the journey has been beautiful. Believe it or not, today, look how God is amazing. When Leo and I were planning his coming here, it was supposed to be in August, as far as I remember. Something happened that it was pushed to October 19th. And what day is today for us in Baltimore? It's the first day of the first meeting of the Spiritist side of Baltimore that happened in my house. October 19th, 27 years ago. I remember that day. Lee wasn't there yet, but the first 5 people were there. Jorge Godinho Neri, his wife Antônia, he's the current president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, and Marília, another friend, Selma, and her husband. That's it. That's how it began. For a few months, it was in my house, and then in 3 months, we had 30 people. We had to move to the University of Maryland in a room that we stayed for 7 years. And the Spiritist side of Baltimore has been there, thank God. Thanks to Leo, thanks to Daniel, thanks to so many friends who are still there, holding the torch, because the Spiritist Center doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to Christ. And wherever we are, we need to help. And Leo has been this faithful friend. He doesn't have a Spiritist family. He was pretty much the first Spiritist in his family. And now his whole family embraces it. And he conquered one by one by one. By doing what? By doing his job. He's not a preacher. He's not. He's a friend that shares the light. And he has much to share with us today. We all have reincarnatory plans. And Leo is going to share with us messages that are in the book, The Messengers by André Luiz. Sometimes we don't know where to start reading. You'll never go wrong if you start from the books by André Luiz through Chico Xavier. And this is the second of them. I won't say more, but let's welcome Leo before we go to our room, shall we, friends? Come here, Leo. Okay, hold on. All right. Oh, you want, because you're gonna. Okay. You have video. You have a video to show. No, right. Okay. Okay, so let me just. There you go. Yeah. Okay. And we can go to the rooms following Miss Daisy, Miss Carol, Miss Fernanda. Let's go.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We can do better than that. Good morning, everyone. That's better. Make everybody, upside. It's like, what is going on over there? But I'm really happy to be here. I would like to give thanks for everybody and God as well for having women in our lives, right?
Yes.
Because they can remember dates so well that it's like, so when she told me, or told all of us about what happened 27 years ago, I was like, really, huh? Vanessa, what they were wearing at the time, do you remember that?
I remember the hardships.
That we never forget. That right? That's we never forget. But it's truly a aha moment for myself as well when we remember these things, and we, as Vanessa said, we go back and we remember so many things, especially the hardships, right? And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a great thing in our lives. Um, One thing that I would like to start with, and completely different, when I walk in the door, you see a beautiful message. And the message says, always rely on divine assistance. Again, from the book Happy Life by Jonah DeAngelis, through the hands of the medium Vivaldo Franco. When we think about divine assistance, we think that is divine, right? Coming straight from God towards us, or some beautiful element that is, up there somewhere away from us. But we have to remind ourselves that this divine assistance, most of the time, if not 99.9% of the time, comes from those who are next to us, right? The wife, the husband, the kid, right? The impediments of life that we have sometimes. And I say this because when we talk about um, Voices of Hope, which is the title that we chose for this, which is just a small conversation about the book The Messengers, we will see that there is a lot divine help. There's a lot of help for all of us. In any case any situation that we may be facing, there's a lot of help. And once more, we also have to think about all the things that we think and we deemed to be an impediment, to be the difficulties, right? And they are. There we have to validate that life in the physical realm, it's not easy, right? And I'll put Vanessa on the spot again. I remember one time we were in the this is at the beginning of our meetings in Baltimore as well. We were I think it was the Ruscom Mansion. Yeah, Ruscom Mansion. It was a place that we used to meet to talk about spiritism, bring spiritism to others. And there was one day that I wasn't feeling quite 100%. That pretty much is almost every day, right? That we don't feel 100%. There is always something that holds us back. And I remember that I was supposed to say the prayer that day, and I said, Vanessa, can I pass the ball to somebody? And she looked at me and said, go ahead and do your work. And I got up and did what I was supposed to do. Willingly? No, I wasn't feeling great that day. But that wasn't a divine assistance. That was a moment that I had in my life that said, push on, keep going. I'm not saying this to put her on the spot or to make fun saying that Vanessa is great. She is great. She's my older sister, about a couple months only of difference, right, Vanessa? But it is one of those divine assistants that sometimes we help, that we receive the help, but it doesn't feel great. But those are the reminders. Those are the reminders that puts us in the position that I am one of these individuals, perhaps, that we're going to see here, that are not doing the work 100%. I may be here talking today, but it may be just a little glimpse that I'm perhaps was supposed to do, right? The other hand of that is that we're not here to judge anyone. We're not here to judge the cases that we're going to see, because it's very easy for us to take a look at a passage of someone's life, or many of our brothers and sisters' life, and judge, right? Because we don't know what we would be doing or not doing if we were in that position. When we look at history and we look at every single thing that has happened in history, and we deem wrong, based on our standards of today's life, based on our laws that we have nowadays, right? So looking back and saying something's wrong, it is great. We know that it's wrong. Hopefully we're not going to be doing the same thing. But we have to be compassionate, that was the understanding that they had at the time. And since we acknowledge spiritism, spirituality, the continuation of the soul, we're there. So don't take this conversation that we're having today in our lives as well as a pointing finger situation or approach, because it's not, right? So we have to learn with one another and learn from ourselves in a way that we will grow. And this is we'll see what the spirits are telling us, and we give thanks to the accounts that we're going to read here. And when we read these works, Andrea Luiz, Joana de Angelis, and all of the other ones, it's as if we're discovering, something new, right? Even though we know unconsciously or consciously, but it's that work that I want to read. What's next? What's next? What's the next page? What's going to happen to this case? Why did it happen? Right? Why did this person get to this point of their lives? Why did we get here? Because then we start to apply to ourselves, right? So we invite everyone to read all 13 books of this series of The Life in the Spirit World, starting with Nosso Lar, the second one, whatever you want to start, actually. I mean, it's okay, but it's nice to read in sequence, right? And so that we can learn from one another. With no further ado, let's dive into it. What I would like to do is to, perhaps you will see that I will bring passages of the book just to kind of to keep our minds, the work together. I will jump from one chapter to the other as I bring some references from the book. And this is meant for us to learn, and we have the reference of going to the chapter, but also if we would like to extract the audio later on, we can actually present this perhaps at Kardec Radio and in other places as well. So I want to start with something really interesting that Emmanuel tells us in the preface of the book. He says that physical death is not an unbalanced leap. It is merely one evolutionary step. Why do we bring this? The notion that we have, and we usually sometimes tell this to children, right? When someone passes, we say, well, so-and-so went to heaven. This individual went to heaven, or it's in a better place. No, it's not. We're not saying this in a negative way, but we need to acknowledge that our condition will continue to be the same, if not worse, once we discarnate. We're not going to give a jump from where we are morally, intellectually, in our advancement, just because we lost the physical body. Like I said, quite the opposite. It can get worse. And when we have this approach, we look at life differently, and we look also at the death of the physical body differently as well, knowing that it's a continuation. So what am I doing now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling right over this moment? We're in a meeting, right? We're hoping to receive some enlightenment, some ideals for our lives, and what we were going to do with this in our lives. And if something happens to us, God forbid, and I say God forbid because we want to stay here for a little bit longer, right? Not that we fear, I fear, right? But what am I going to be doing with this? Am I thinking about my bills right now? Am I thinking about the worries of my family? There are great things. But it goes back to I. And I'm not saying this in an egotistical way, but in a way that I have my ascendancy to work on. Those who will stay behind, they will have their own. And there are cases explaining to us this. So let's not think that we're taking a leap. Let's make the leap here as we decide to do better things with our lives. To start as well, I go back to Anicero. As you can see, I haven't talked about André Luiz yet. We'll get there. We'll talk about Anicero. Anicero is actually the mentor that oversees the work that André Luiz will be doing. We'll talk a little bit more about it, that André Luiz will be doing in this week of work. When you read the book, you think, oh my gosh, it's such a long time. No, it's only 1 week of work. And all the work that they do towards several individuals that are being helped in the spiritual world. It says the following. This method is not meant to create more obligations for everybody. Here, as on earth, the one who actually learns the most is in class. And on field trips is not the student, but the instructor, who enriches his or her observations and deepens his or her level of experience. When Minister Esperidion recruited me for this job, I accepted on condition that I wouldn't be wasting any time on my own betterment and education. When we read this statement, when I read this statement, and I say again, I'll keep using I because hopefully it is an eye-opener for all of you as well. It made me reflect on what am I doing with my life in relation to others. One sentence seems to annul the other, right? Because if the mentor is saying, wait a minute, the instructor, and he is the instructor, he's the one guiding the others, right? And he's not thinking about himself, but he's saying, I'm the one learning. How is he learning? How is he getting better? He's analyzing how other people, how other spirits, they perform in their lives. When I say performance, is not working out, right? How they think, how they communicate. What are their insights? What are their needs that need to be met, right? He's not thinking about himself, which is the second statement, right? Because he knows that the work is not his. The work is God's. And consequently, our Master Jesus Christ. So he's not putting himself in a position where, oh, you know what, this is for me. I want to learn. I will learn. But the work, the outcome of this work is the work of God, right? Is the continuation of the souls that they are actually, when I say soul, incarnated, and then the spirits who are discarnated being helped as well. So let us keep this in mind because this is really important to a connection that we're going to make when we get to the cases that we're going to be studying. He says the following to continue. The work we do is varied and demanding. Our department only accepts workers interested in discovering the joy of servicing others. We are mutually committed not to complain about anything at all. No one expects personal praise for a job well done, and we will answer for any errors we might commit. All of us here in this process of extinguishing the old personal vanities that we brought with us from earth. When we read these messages, and there are also subtle messages throughout the work as well of the book Messengers, we see that it's repetitive. It's not about us who are doing the work, but the consequences of it. Still, we are not supposed to let this vanity develop inside of us. It will happen, right? When you guys were saying the welcoming to me and you guys were clapping, we have to be careful with this. I'm not saying this is wrong. It's okay. This is how we welcome one another. But these are the cases that we have to look at ourselves and say, who am I, right? And what is the responsibility that I have for all of you, for myself as well, right? Because the work is not ours. So we have to make sure that we are paying attention to all of these things. And as Aniceto was saying, we have to make sure that we understand that this vanity is not supposed to spring from our needs, right? And then on the work of assistance, we will see that this is on chapter 24, by the way. Sorry, the last two passages was actually from the chapter 2 entitled Anicero. In chapter 44, we will see that André Luiz actually falls into this temptation. And Anicero comes to him and says the following. Too much regard for results can jeopardize the work. On occasions like this, vanity usually awakens within us and makes us forget the Lord. Don't forget that all good comes from him. He is the light of our hearts, where we are his instruments in the task of love. The faithful servant is not the one who is amazed by the results, nor the one who gets wrapped up in contemplating them, but the ones who fulfills the Lord's divine will and moves on. What happened here was that they were assisting a fellow spirit, and André Luiz actually helps this lady in a tremendous way, and she is actually really happy and thankful for what he did. And André Luiz gets in that moment of, oh my gosh, I saved the world. No, you didn't. You did a wonderful thing, right? The lady was helped. Well, say the lady, because it presents itself as a female spirit. But Aniceto comes back and say, wait a minute, it's not about you. As he said at the beginning, it's not about me. It shouldn't be about me. It should be about the others. It should be about the work. Why we're saying this, folks? Let us look around ourselves. What do we have around us? Our partners, our friends, co-workers, the Spirit Center, right? All the resources that we have. And we still complain. Oh, I feel this way. I feel that way. Oh, I don't want to say the prayer today. Right? And it's a repetitive thing in our lives. It's a repetitive thing in my life. Getting up in the morning, early in the morning, to do exercise, to do whatever we have to do, it's hard. It's not easy. Some people come to us. Those are the friends that sometimes we want in our lives, right? Why you do this? You do so much. Yes, I do, and I have to do more, right? I was listening to a talk on the Spiritist radio the other day, and the person speaking said the same thing. And this is a really hard worker, as I consider hard worker, because he has been doing Spiritist work for quite some time. And he said, today I did not feel like coming to this event. And it's so interesting that a person of that, when I say a person of that level, that has been working with Spiritism for quite some time, to acknowledge such a thing on the radio. And I was like, wow. And he said, you know what? That was the moment that I said, no, I have to go. I have to go. Right? He was indisposed, we can say it that way, but he said, I'll go. And to have the courage to acknowledge such a thing, to understand where we are and who we are, it's an amazing thing. So, again, I'll make another connection about this when we continue on. Let us now take a step back and talk about André Luiz. I'll bring the first book here, Nosso Lar, because we will see that André Luiz in Nosso Lar is a spirit that is suffering, right? He is found in the lower regions, in a very difficult situation where he is going through a difficult moment of what has happened as a result to his style of life, right? A doctor, right? Someone who is not in, let's say, giving any ideals for a spiritual life. And that really put him in a tough situation, because as he passes, as he loses his physical body, he is encountered on the other side and considered a suicidal individual. And he said, no, me is suicidal, killed myself. No, preposterous, right? To say such a thing. But that's how he saw himself, and others were accusing him as well of being a suicidal. He didn't kill anyone. He didn't jump just because he lost the physical body. Quite the opposite, as we said. He was found in a really, really, really tough situation. And we look at André Luiz, even on the first book, Nosso Lar, as someone who is extremely more evolved than we are. I like to believe so too, but He's not a saint. He's not a saint. Comes, let's say, fast forward towards the end of the book, we will see that his desire was to see his family, right? To go back and see his family in this book. And the account was that perhaps if you were to go during the moment that he actually was asking to go back, he would not only create more issues for himself, but also for the family, right? So he was not granted right away. He was granted, but he was not granted right away the possibility to go back home. So let us think about ourselves. Will we be granted the ability to go back and see our families? Do we want to go back and see our families after we pass, right? It's a joke, but it's something for us to think about it as well, right? So we see André Luiz complaining, in that complaining mode. I want to do this, I want to do that, I can't do this, I can't do that, right? He used to love, as we see here, having broken from the inferior ties that had bound, this is now on the messengers, had bound me to earth concerns. I now felt a higher level understanding, now blending my spirit. I used to enjoy torturing my soul with memories of earth. I used to enjoy the dramatic stories of various fellow spirits struggling down there. I recalled my own struggle, and I was infatuated with the prospects of clinging once again to my family. But now I had completely lost my passion for such unworthy matters. It's like, okay, I went there, I saw my family. For many of you who have read the book and perhaps even watched the movie, he went home and found that his wife was remarried again, which at first that was a huge shock for him, right? But then he saw that that man as a brother who was taking care of his family, loved his wife, his former wife, but he had to move on. And that consequently happened after time. Because we don't have a time saying it happened from here to this moment. We know that this book came out on 1944, The Messengers, and it was exactly during the moment of war, which is also, I'll put a parenthesis here, which is also something for us to reflect. What we're going through in our lives right now, it is also affected by the environment that we're living. This country, what we're going through politically, spiritually, and all the other elements, much like if we were to another location of the world, we would be influenced by the environment where we live in as well. But that doesn't stop us from working and doing what we're supposed to do, because that continues to be excuses, right? That would be another excuse, and we can have our excuse that we want, but that will be another excuse for all of us. All of this, close that parenthesis. Now, all of this to also analyze one thing. What we read on Ocelar, Messenger, in the other 11 books that comes after, it is a perception of André Luiz. And when I start thinking about this, am I crazy? Am I, thinking about something that it is his perception? Because if each one of us were to walk with André Luiz throughout all these endeavors that he went through, right, we would come back and report something completely different. Completely different. I'm not saying that André Luiz is better or worse, but we also have to make sure that we read, that we study, and we take our own conclusions. He's not perfect. I consider myself way lower compared to André Luiz, yes, but he's not a perfect being. So when we read these things, how do I apply this to my life? How do I prepare myself that perhaps the next reincarnation will be a little bit better, not only for me, but for others as well, right? And I have spoken with other friends in Spiritism as well. And I said such a thing, they looked at me that I had like 3 or 4 heads. But it's true. It's true, because each one of us will report something completely different. We would be amazed with other things that it's really, perhaps for John or someone else, would be like, okay, this is mundane. But it's our perception. And when we start looking at others towards their perception, towards their values, on what is important to them, we'll look back and say, maybe we need to let this person go back home. much like Andrea Luiz, necessities were attended. Not perhaps when he wanted, because there were a lot of harm that could have been created if he were to go back when he wanted to go back, when he was in the complaining mode. But after some time, after some hard work at Nosso Lar, he was granted the visit at home. So we need, much like Andrea Luiz, our necessities to be attended. Our partners, our friends, and in many cases, these necessities, because we're on planet Earth, they're what? Materialistic. And that is hard. Because sometimes we're spiritists now, right? We tend to think that, we don't need the physical, right? So if the husband wants a new car, not now. If the wife wants new shoes, not now, maybe later, right? And I say these things because they're mundane things, but it's important for that individual. We want to buy a home. It's important because with the home, we'll have a family, so on and so forth. And there are other things as well that we don't give value that needs to be attended, which sometimes is necessity of the heart, right? Be closer. Let's get together. Let's have a Sunday like this, right? Let's have a moment that both of us, I'm talking about partners, let's have a moment that we can have not only the both of us, but other family members that sometimes we only see during Thanksgiving. It's coming up, by the way. I don't want to scare anybody, right? But those are the moments that we get. It's like, oh my gosh, this person it's only once a year, right? But these things are important. The attendance of our necessities is extremely important. Otherwise, we don't grow, get stuck, right? Most of us. Our guide Vicente explained to me, consider all health conversations to be useful work that enriches our learning and aptitudes for service. Thus, when we engage in spiritually constructive conversation, we receive the remuneration due for regular work. Why do we bring this here? Much like when we said at the beginning that Andrea Luiz was in that complaining mode, right? Now he's restricted to only think or have positive conversations. And this is Vicente saying on chapter 6, profound warnings. Vicente is saying, let us keep to ourselves, right? And Andrea Luiz then continues to ask, we're not bringing here, consider what if we don't do it? Then we will reap the consequences of our own thoughts, of our own feelings, right? So whether our necessities are being attended or not, we need to make sure that we're thinking and we're saying positive things. It's okay to get to a point and say, I can't take this no more. I don't feel this way. Expressing our necessities, expressing our feelings is extremely important. Otherwise, we don't move on. Now, staying on the complaining mode, thinking about the past, it's not going to put us anywhere. Quite the opposite. Andrea Luiz would not have done this work, because we saw in the previous message, would not have been able to engage in this work because Aniceta was very clear. We're here to work. And then we will see Tobias, and we will see also, I forget now, the mentor who talks about the work in the Chamber of Messengers. We will see that the idea is clear. It's not about complaining. It's not about the work. It's not about you. It's about those who are in need. It's about the messengers that left this work over here to go to earth and do something with it, but they don't. And they come back worse. So they know what they're getting themselves to. They know that they're going to be dealing with really hard cases. And they're there, persistent. Oh, I don't care what the person did. Let's go over there and help. I don't care what they're complaining about. Let's go over there and help. Right? And this is hard. Let's give continuation. But now I want to go a little bit deeper into what they do in the Messenger Center. I'm going to read these two passages, and it's alarming to, at least to me and many of us. I'll start where it's bold over there. This is, again, chapter 3 at the Messenger Center. That's the title of the chapter. Many spirits are trained here to spread hope and consolation. and to provide instruction and counsel in the various arena of the planet's evolution. I don't mean just invisible emissaries, however. We also train tightly knit groups for reincarnation, and mediums and instructors live here by the hundreds every year. Those who will be involved in giving spiritual comfort are trained by our messenger center and are sent to the incarnate realms in considerable numbers. That's way back in 1944. Well, before, because the book was actually published in 1944. So this is a message that we received back then. André Luiz then asked the question, well, if this is such a high work, then Earth would be a paradise, right? Think about it. Hundreds of individuals reincarnating every single year. And this is just at the Messenger Center in Nosso Lar. And there are countless reminders that there are other locations in the spiritual realm that they are doing the same work. Because we think that Nosso Lar is the only place on the spiritual world, right, that helps others. No. What about the US? We don't have any. We have some accounts that are several, right? What about places in Africa? They're not doing this work? They are. Is this spiritism everywhere? No. So where do we fit on this? What if I'm not a medium? We're all mediums, but an extensive medium. What if I'm not a counselor that works in mediumistic meetings? Where can we be a medium? Anywhere, right? At home, right? I remember Vanessa mentioned Jorge Godinho. Remember Jorge Godinho talked to a loved one, saying to the loved one, watch. Whenever the person got a little bit off, he would say, watch your mediumistic capabilities, right? Because we know, and he professed this over and over and over, we're not alone. We're medium everywhere. When we're talking to our partners, when we're talking to our children, we're not alone. When the children are talking to us, right, especially in the development years up to 7 and 12, they're not alone. They're experiencing both sides, right? So all of these things is important. And I'm saying this to myself, folks, okay? I'm no different than what I'm preaching here. I'm still there. And then André Luiz by saying, life would be great on earth. Tobias actually says, this preparation is in itself does not mean they will be successful. Thousands of qualified masters live here, but the ones who actually succeed are rare indeed. Some manage to accomplish their task partially, but most fail completely. Real service is not just an idea. It involves effort which the work can neither begin nor prevail. Ranks of mediums, and instructors live here for the physical world with special training because benefactors in the higher realms need selfless, altruistic mediums in order to enhance humankind's redemption. But when these messengers forget their missionary spirit and their dedication to their fellow beings, they usually become worthless instruments. It goes on and on and on. We're not pointing fingers, but simply calling ourselves and saying, what am I doing? What am I doing with the moments that I am tempted? Right? This is no different if we were to think about of what Jesus brought us 2,000 years ago. What are we doing with what we receive? With the environment that we have, with the resources that we have. And I like to call one another resources, not in a negative way or a materialistic way, but we are resources for one another, right? Let us now take a quick look on the cases that we have. I'll try to be brief. Hopefully I can remember, and give you some insights of all of them. I just put some bullet points for us to remember. And we'll start with the difficult ones because that's exactly what André Luiz brings to us. Again, trying to bring his, the way he actually continued with the way he actually brought the cases. But then we were going to transition from the negative cases, if we can call it that way, the failures, and the good things that we can also see in this book as well. Again, this is Leo Perceptions, okay? Same way Andrea Luiz brings to us, this is also Leo's perception. If you read it, you probably remember and say, oh, Leo, you need to read again, okay? In any case, Vicente, it tells his story. Vicente, again, is the man that helps, that is also, let us call, invited to do the work with Andrea Luiz. He was also a doctor in his last life in the physical realm, and he is connected with Andrea Luiz because the Aniceto, excuse me, I'm having trouble with the names. Aniceto believed that it would be beneficial to the two of them because they came from a former line of work to be together so that they can develop themselves, right, and help others in that line. He actually tells his story that he faced the infidelity of his wife with his brother. So his brother actually incites the whole thing, creates the whole thing, and they get together, his wife and his brother, and they killed him. And it's a whole chapter explaining what happened. We don't see what happens at the end because he doesn't tell what he did to the brother or to the wife. But based on his condition, he retaliated. He retaliated. And again, I'm just giving some insights here, not judging, right? But we need to learn from this. Continuing. Otávio was, and this is on chapter 7, Otávio's downfall. Otávio was supposed to be a medium and take care of orphan brothers, but married and made other choices. So he studied at the Messenger Center, prepared for several years to come back in the physical body, do the work, mediumistic work, or whatever he had to do, right? And help brothers, orphan brothers that he had, and decide to leave them and say, no, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. Again, impediments, the difficulties of life, right? That we don't want to, let's say, take responsibility after we were in the spiritual realm and we signed on the bottom, right? It was that handshake, it was that contract that bilateral contract, not unilateral, right? Bilateral contract that we have with spirituality, say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to help others, right? Didn't happen. Acelino was a medium who charged for his services. He was prepared, did all the work that he was supposed to do in the spirit realm, reincarnates, but when he gets here, say, you know what? Why can't I make some money on this? Right? And remember, freely we receive, freely we do what? We give. Right? Nothing different. This chapter over here, chapter 9, listening to impressions, we have 3 cases. They go into Andrea Luiz, Aniceto, and Vicente. They're in this group of, among a group of people, and all that they hear are complaints about these spirits that are in a difficult situation, right? Difficult condition of mind. And they're complaining, they're talking about their case, and they're bringing out all the things that they did, much like Andrea Luiz did in the first book, Nosso Lar, complaining about their lives. Mariana had no support from her husband and daughters for the work that she was supposed to accomplish in the Spirit Center. And she was complaining that, oh, my husband did not understand, he did not support me, my kids didn't support me either. And you're going to stop the work because of it? It's not about them. It's not about me. It's about the work. That's why when we get the reminder at the beginning of the chapter explaining Aniceto, he says such a thing. It's not about me. It's not about the impediments that we see in my life. And Ernestina was fearful of the work that she was supposed to accomplish. And I know of very endowed individual with mediumship that they don't do the work because they are afraid. Literally, they are afraid. And we have works and works and works to help us with the fear. Having fear, there's nothing wrong with that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We would be doing crazy things in our life. So being fearful, it grounds us, right? Every time when I have to come and talk, I'm fearful. What am I going to say? Oh my goodness. Who am I going to meet over there? It's okay. The moment that we don't have fear, something's wrong because we think that we know better than others, that we are everything, and we're not. So it's okay to be fearful. It's okay to say, well, you know what? I have to talk to the Spirit. Well, you know what? I have to read a book in front of others. It's okay. And that fear hopefully will help us. But in this case, for Ernestina, it didn't. Husband, and we don't have the name, who lacked support from his second wife after the first wife passed. So he was married at first. The wife was a great support to do the Spiritist work. But then she passed, and then he remarries, right? Whatever need he had that was attended to have a partner. But the partner didn't want to accept the work. She did not support. And he didn't do the work. Now, who is in a really difficult state of mind in the spirit, back in the spirit realm? It's not the wife. Because perhaps that second wife was not the one who signed the contract. She doesn't know. I'm not saying that it's okay not to at least understand your partner when they have something better to do, or someone else, a friend or family member. But at the end of the day, it was this man's position towards God, towards himself, to say, I need to do what I need to do. You stay right here, we're going to have our moments, but I also need my moments to do this. And we see this in families all throughout. Isabella doesn't follow me. I'm not saying this because she's not here. She doesn't follow me for every event that I have to go or spiritist meeting that I have to go. She surely does not participate on any of the mediumistic meeting that I participate. And there are moments that it's like, oh gosh, I wish I could stay with the family, right? But there are moments for everything, right? And these are the choices that we have to make. Joe had the gift to experience the past of others and became ill with the remembrance of his own past. This is on chapter 10, Joe's experiences. The man had the capability to see what each one of us, if we can say it that way, were in our past lives. And what he does, he starts playing games. Oh, this person was dead. This person was that. We were connected in this life. And he dug so much into something that he wasn't supposed to that he got ill. He could barely understand who he was when he went back to the spirit world. Continuation. Bellarmino had a good wife and was supposed to help in the Spiritist Center, but made the center a political arena and manipulated communications to amaze others. Again, this is on Bellarmino the instructor, chapter 11. To finalize on this part, well, I think we have one more after Monteito's account, chapter 12. Monteiro misuses Spiritism in the work of mediunist meetings to hurt others instead of uplifting them. So when he went to talk to the spirits, when he went to talk to those who were in need, instead of saying, hang in there, we're here to help, we're here to give you guidance, we're here to give you some work as well, right? He told them, you're going through this because you deserve it. Imagine coming to a spiritist center or anywhere, right? Talking to a loved one and they disregard completely what we're going through. I'm going to go now to Alfredo's love story because this is the turnaround into the good moments that we have, or the ascendancy that we can make even though we actually lost track of what we were supposed to do. This is the case of Alfredo's love story. Alfredo was blinded by a business partner to believe that his wife, Ismalia, was cheating on him. So they were also part of this work. They reincarnated, they had a good life, they were doing what they were supposed to do, but the business partner incited everything to make him believe that his wife, because he also, the business partner, had wanted to stay with his wife, for him to believe that Ismalia was cheating on him. He, in despair, after he, this business partner does something to him, or to the both of them, to make him believe that she was cheating on him, he leaves Ismalia, takes the children from her, and 2 years later she discarnates. And he continues on. After she discarnates, he goes back to Rio after a trip that he goes to France to take care of his kids after she passed. what happens to him in the spirit world? Alfredo now is the administrator of the aid station that André Luiz Vicente and Aniceto stayed before going to work on the physical plane. It's a beautiful place, helping others and all that. However, Ismalia, his wife, only came to visit once a month. So they were not together. They were loved ones. They stayed as a couple. But she could not be there. She could not stay. They asked if she can stay there. But Alfredo himself said, no, I have to ascend to her level because of what he had done in the past. It is a tough situation, but we see how the Spirit, after we come to our senses, we look back and say, no, I don't deserve this. Not in a punishing way, but I have to ascend to the level of the Spirit. What does he do? Let's meet Paulo. Paulo was a suffering spirit who was rescued by Alfredo himself. He dedicates a daily moment to speak with him and guide him. And this is on chapter 27, the slender. Paulo was actually the man, the business part. Alfredo goes, looks for him on the depth of, if we can call, of the lower zones, rescues him, and brings him back to the aid station to help him. And dedicates a daily moment of his life to go and talk to the Spirit, That was when he turned around, because he knew that it's not about me, it's not about Somalia, it's about what I did, right? Because we don't get the full account of the story there, right? To help these individuals. And who knows what would happen, we don't have the account, after, the many, many years that they were together, reincarnating, perhaps maybe they're already reincarnated. We don't know. But the point is, he knew what happened to him. He knew what he had done and what he had to do to change this. Then it comes the case of Isabel, a widow who lived in a humble home with 5 children. She was often visited by her husband at night during the physical rest and emancipation of the soul. They were a couple who were prepared in Ocelor and continued their hard work in the physical plane even after the husband left the physical body. This is on a workshop of Ocelor, chapter 34. This was if we can present this, the case that was perfect. Because they like to call, Dona Isabel at night would come and connect with her husband, even though the husband had already passed. And her house was and became an outpost for the spirits, high spirit, to come and rest when they were traveling from Nocelar to the lower zones, to our crust. There is a beautiful moment that a beautiful chapter that they bring us a God at home, or Jesus at home, whatever we would like to call, that she prayed with her children. She goes through a very difficult moment with one of her kids who questioned their poverty, and she looks at the kid and say, look, I'm here to educate you. I'm here to get you closer to God, right? He did not take it well, even though he was a young, right? The spirit in the physical body, but we know that is a spirit, and it's a beautiful. I urge you to read as well. I believe it's chapter 35 when they go into this conversation. But it's a beautiful thing. But we see that there is a way, if we persist, even with the struggles. Imagine a widow with 5 children, and she's there, persistent. Only 1 meal a day, because that was actually one of the account. And one of the daughters at one moment asks, why we only eat once a day? When so-and-so, they're eating twice a day. And the explanation is beautiful. And she said, we're still living. We eat only once a day, but we're still living. So all of these things, folks, all of these difficulties that we see, and we are reminded once more that the work is not about me. It's not about the problem that we're facing. We are facing problems. We will face problems. And quite frankly, it's going to get worse. Not because the things out there is going to get worse, but our minds, our perception about life will be broadened. What perhaps used to not worry us yesterday because we weren't thinking about it was not a big deal, tomorrow will be. Tomorrow will be. When we look at now, it's 2025 and we are, still going through the things that we're going through, guess what? It's because today, 2025, we're paying attention to that 2010, we were not thinking about it. Much like André Luiz, we took pleasure talking about our lives. We took pleasure about talking about what was in the news. Nowadays, we don't want to watch the news. We want moments like this. So pat yourself in the back. It's a good thing when we're looking at the struggle of our lives and we're seeing something different. We're saying thank you. We're joking earlier, Vanessa was joking. Who would have think right now being a grandfather, right? And I joke about it, and I said, well, I was thinking about, travel the world, have fun, at this age. Then my two daughters are, past that teenager moment. Guess what? He is a grandson. More than ever, a boy, I have to be the example. I can't say, the wrong words at home anymore, right? Being called again to do my work. And hopefully I am. I'm not perfect. There are moments that my wife look at me like, and there were two moments, and I say this because I think it's something, not that I see him as an enlightened spirit, that I was holding him and, I kind of raised my voice a little bit, and he went on my chest and started tapping on my chest. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay, all right. Let me take a step back here. Let me fix this. And it happened twice already. So hopefully it's not going to happen the third time. And if it does, hopefully I'll be able to look at it and say, let me take a step back. I'm not perfect. And teach him as well that I'm not perfect. So don't look at me being the perfect guy because I'm not, right? The worst thing that we can do is to put a loved one as a perfect individual or play that perfect individual towards others. Because guess what? We will fail. And we have to say, I'm sorry, and I'll try not to let it happen again. Let us take a moment to, I would like to say, I believe there are 3 or 4, I'll try to be brief here, reminders that I would like to bring in terms of teachings that we receive in this book. And I remember Haroldo Dutra once saying, he was asked a question, if you could do something towards humanity that would be very profound, what would you do? He said, I would speak to the whole world that we are immortal. And that stuck with me. I was like, okay, does that help to know that we're going to continue on? Well, it does. Because if we had this knowledge, perhaps we didn't have the number of suicides that we have on Earth. And yesterday, by the way, Alba gave a beautiful talk on suicide yesterday at the Spirit Side of Baltimore. In this case, it's a little bit of the reverse, because if we had this knowledge, we would contemplate about the leap that we talked at the beginning in a different way. There was a group of spirits in this chamber that they were working, that they were sleeping, deep sleep. And the reason that they're in this deep sleep is because they did not contemplate in whatsoever the idea of the continuation of life after the physical death. So they continue to sleep. They think that it's over. Nothing happens. Therefore, I'll sleep. And then we have the explanation by Niceto saying, the man and woman that believes in eternal life, even while they are still in the physical realm, and even though they may not be Christians per se, are developing faculties of spiritual movement. Later on, he will say, talking about the spirits, they sleep because they have been magnetized by their own negativistic concepts. They remain paralyzed because they prefer narrow-mindedness to understanding. It's that idea that everything dies or finishes with the physical body. Knowing that a suicidal is not trying to finish the physical body. They're trying to finish the suffering that they're going through, the moment that they're going through it, right? So we give grace because we don't know what the person is going through. Much like we see in these other cases as well. But if there is something that we can help one another, is to tell and remind ourselves, we are immortal. We don't have to say it that way, right? But let us start helping ourselves and others consequences of our actions, which is also another book of the series, Action and Reaction, right? That whatever I do, there will be consequences. So I'll start to act a little bit different towards ourselves and towards others. Cremilda, this is the case. Oh, doctor, thank God. What a terrible nightmare. I felt as if I were in the kingdom of the dead, listening to my long-deceased fiancé calling me to eternity. This is on chapter 48, The Dread of Death. She actually came in contact with her husband, who was in the spirit realm, already saying to her, Cremilda, wake up. You're dead. But she thought that she was not. In a way, I'm not smiling, in a negative, to make joke of it, but it's quite confusing, right? You're on the other side already, and you don't believe that you are. You are not in the physical body anymore. That's an extreme. To illustrate of what we, and consider myself only now, I can't speak for others, the messengers are to bring this message to others, that we are immortal. You have seen that prayer work in the material realm is more important than you can imagine. This is on chapter 25, entitled Her Prayer's Effect. There is no prayer that doesn't receive an answer. Prayer, the daughter of love, is not only supplication, it is communion between the Creator and his creatures, thus comprising the most powerful magnetic influx. While we are on the matter, however, I might add that malevolent prayer also has enormous influential potential. Every time a spirit assumes such a mental attitude, a communication link is established between it and the beyond. What is it trying to say? There are positive prayers and that there are also negative prayers. This is another element that we'd like to bring, besides understanding that we are mortal. Every time we produce a positive thought, we will connect with other minds that will have the same positive thoughts. If we think negatively about something, guess what? We will connect with others that are vibrating the same way. It's the automatic handshakes that we have with one another, right? If our environment at home are only thinking about negative things, and here we're talking about prayers, but we're extrapolating a little bit in terms of positive and negative thoughts, right? So it's important that we also bring this element as messengers of life to think positively, right? To also connect with the message that we brought on, I believe, on the first or the second slide, talking about our conversations, on how productive our conversations are. And then I'll finalize with these two that is brought by Mr. Bosselar. It is on chapter 28, Social Life. There is social life in the spirit realm too, folks. Okay, they actually gather at one night. They gather to receive friends and talk with one another, right? And have beautiful conversations to talk about the work that they were doing and things that perhaps transcended my mind, at least, right? I'm quite sure. And he says two things, because André Luiz was like, can you give us a hint of, what is important, since we are doctors and all? And Mr. Bosselar, he kind of takes a step back and says, there's not much that I can say. But these two things that he said is just amazing. One, it's about the practice of preventive medicine. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We want the silver bullet. We don't want the hard work, right? So when we tell ourselves, eat less, sleep well, right? I'm not going to say sleep less, sleep more, sleep well, right? Talking about the physical body. Do the things that are preventive to ourselves. Work the amount of work that you have to do to maintain ourselves, right? Give yourself the appropriate time to reflect. All of these different things that we hear Joanna De Angelis saying on the book Happy Life, right? And we don't do it. We go to the doctor and say the doctor gives us a list of the things that we can do to prevent something that may happen in the future. We don't want that, right? And he says the spirit it's intrinsic in us, this idea that we don't want a preventive work. We don't want that hard work at first. We unfortunately are reactive, right? So let us be preventive instead of reactive, right? He continues to say, after Angel Luis continues to ask, the following. Cooperation is another problem. And we've seen, I think, the lack of cooperation is the theme of this, one of the themes of this book, right? One of the theme of this week of work. The lack of cooperations that we present to ourselves and towards one another, right? So let us think about how much we are cooperating or how much we're not cooperating with one another. And cooperation goes a long way. Don't limit yourself to, the idea that I have to do ABC with my family or I have to do ABC at the Spiritus Center or at work. A step further, right? The teachings that we have from Christ is to what? When it's asking of something, give that something and a little bit more. I love the Japanese culture because when you have a contract with them, a business contract with them, they don't stop there. They want to give you more, right? They work harder to give you more. It's not in the contract. And here we are in our society. This is it. This is the scope of the work. This is all I'm going to do. I'm getting paid for this. That's it. I'm not going to go beyond, right? And it's the same thing with my family. I'm the father. That's it. I'm the provider. That's it. It goes beyond that idea. So what's the purpose, folks? Taking a little bit much too long here. What's the purpose of this work for all of us, right? Emmanuel reminds us in the preface of the book. He says the following: my friend, if you are seeking the spiritual light, if materialistic existence has wearied your heart, remember that in spiritualism, investigation always leads to the infinite, found in the realm of the infinitesimal, as well as in the realm of the distant stars. And only self-transformation in the light of higher spirituality will enable you to draw from the founts of the divine life. And above all, remember that these uplifting messages from the beyond are not meant to be mere expression of emotion. They are intended primarily for your understanding as a child of God, so that you will take inventory of your own accomplishments and truly hand yourself over to the responsibility of living in the presence of the Lord. Let us make an account of our resources, of our struggles. As Vanessa said 27 years ago, we had some struggles. And we had no idea of all the other struggles that we would face. And there were many. And there will be many more. I don't want to paint a picture that it's not going to be easy, right? It's going to get worse. Again, not the worst in the sense that something horrible is going to happen to us, but we'll be more aware. And their awareness free us. There is a moment, I'll try to be brief here, that the mother is trying to, this is towards the end, chapter 50 if I'm not mistaken. The mother comes to rescue the son who was discarnating in the physical body. And this Aniceto asks her, are you here to help him here, or are you here to take him someplace else? Without her saying anything. She was there to help. He knew that. But he already knew to ask, what are you supposed to do? And she calms herself and says, I can only help him during this moment, and send someone else who's going to help him. That ability to foresee not only what he was supposed to do, because he knew he was supposed to help, but also to foresee of what are your responsibility towards this discarnating son. It's a beautiful thing. To be able to see, okay, the kid is going to touch something, or if we act this way, this may be harmful for others. To be preventive, it's an amazing thing for all of us. And that would lead us into very little, less harms, right? Vanessa, do we have time to finish with the prayer? Okay. So, with this idea, with this reminder from Emmanuel, and all that we have talked, we could be talking even more about it. I would like to finalize with the prayer that Aniceto brings at the end. He says the following: Lord, teach us to receive the blessings of service. We still do not know, beloved Jesus, how to understand the extent of the work you have entrusted to us. Enable us, O Lord, to form the conviction in our soul that the work of the world belongs to you, so that vanity will not insinuate itself into our hearts through the appearance of good. Give us, O Master, the spirit of consecration to our duties and unconcern for the results which belong to your love. Teach us to act without the fetters of the passions, so that we may recognize your holy purposes. Beloved Lord, help us to be your loyal servants. Beloved Master, grant us your instruction. Righteous Judge, lead us on straight pathways. Sublime Physician, restore our health. Compassionate Shepherd, lead us to the spring of living water. Wise Engineer, give us your blueprint. Magnanimous Administrator, inspire us in our tasks. Sower of good, teach us to cultivate the field of our soul. Divine Carpenter, help us to build our eternal home. Caring Potter, patch the vessel of our heart. Watchful Friend, be tolerant of our weaknesses. Prince of Peace, have compassion on our fragile spirits. Open our eyes and show us the highway to your kingdom. This is by Anicero on chapter 51, saying goodbye. And that is what I'd like to leave you with. This reminder that we are eternal. There is much work to be done after the preparation that we have received, whether we believe it or not. And as Vanessa said at the beginning, each one of us, even Mateo brought his two hands up, right? When we are reminded that we have those moments that we hear something, we have an insight, we have a drive to do something, whether difficult to do or not, we all do. And I am quite sure that that is divine work on us, calling us to go back into track, to do the things that we're supposed to do, and hopefully to be a completer as well, and to go back a little bit better than when we left the other side. So we thank you for the opportunity to speak with you, to have this amazing work presented to you. There is way more. Hopefully one day we can sit down and study the book together, right? And go through the many insights that are there. It takes time, but it's certainly doable as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leo. You know, it's so good to study, as Leo said, right? So important. We are not here for excuses, because when we give excuses, we go back, there's no excuse. We can't say, oh, you know, it was hard, you know, don't I have a second chance? Yes, you have another reincarnation. So let's strive to do better. That's what this book is all about, saying, strive to do our best. Why not? We're not alone. But we need to do the God at home, as Leo brought to us. There are beautiful chapters, and especially the one about the family, Mrs. Isabel and her children, and the God at home. If you don't know how to do the God at home or the gospel at home, talk to us, because we can come and help you. It's so vital. It's once a week. You choose the same day, the same time. It's at least 15 minutes, okay? Maximum an hour. And we don't discuss, we don't argue. We open books, any book like this, could be any. It can be even an affirmation, one affirmation. And we open with a prayer. We read the message, talk about the message, close with a prayer, drink the water. That's it. It seems simple physically, but in the spiritual realm, oh my Lord. If you want to see the difference, make this test. When you have visitors in your home, try to say a prayer. It's awkward, huh? See? If the visitors are very spiritual, it's going to be easy. We're going to say, let's say a prayer to thank God for today. They're going to say, yay, hooray. But otherwise, if we have those visitors who are not very...
Right, Thanksgiving.
And Thanksgiving, right? They're going to say, no, but, and then it's hard. That's the same that happens in the spiritual realm. When you do the God at home and it's hard, it's a sign that those who are with us, they are not very elevated. So we better pray 3 times a day. 3 times a day until they say, man, I'm going to run away. That's what happened in our mediumistic meeting, right? Remember the time that the spirits say, man, I left because they pray so much, I don't want to stay there anymore. You see? So the more you pray, the better it is. Yes, John.
Pray 3 times a day. Cardiac radio with gold.
Yes, that's a technique. Play Cardiac Radio. Cardiac Radio has an app that is free of charge. It's right there. Cardiac Radio. And then you play it, and it keeps on going throughout the day in your home. The spirits who are there mean they're going to leave immediately if they are not good ones, because they're like, I can't handle this anymore. The good spirits enter, they leave. That's how it is. But we need to keep the good ones inside, huh? Doing the good towards each other. We think that doing the good is going to be seen next week on Saturday as well, but it begins at home. It begins at home with ourselves, with one another, right? So in this spirit of gratitude, the good spirits are always with us, and we're going to do the spiritual passes today. Hopefully next week we're going to resume the magnetic spiritual passes, okay? We're going to dim the lights. Thank you, John. What do we do to receive? Actually, when I was seated there while Leo was talking here, I was seeing already the spirit doctors going through each one of us and already treating us, especially for those who were attentive to the talk. Okay? They were already helping. Now, we're just going to seal the deal. Huh? It's like the final band-aid on the injury. All right? That's it. So we're going to close our eyes and feel the presence of our beloved Master Jesus. Oh, Master, we visualize you amongst us. You said where 2 or more gathered in your name, there you would be. We have no doubt that you are with us as well. Your loving smile, your compassionate look, your kind hands, and your healing heart, enveloping us in strength, renewing thoughts and feelings, and encouraging us to work even more with you, to never give up on our families, to never give up on our friends, to never give up on life. Breathing in and out, we feel your healing touch over our heads, balancing us, mind and bodies. As we breathe in and out, we feel your energy medicine restoring our health. Breathing in and out, we feel that you're now inviting us to open the door of our homes to you. Welcome, Master, to our homes with your loving team, blessing our homes, rescuing those who are in need of help. And we see you, Master, placing a vase of healing flowers on our dining table. Healing flowers to secure our harmony. And as you kindly invite us, we now pray with you, O Lord of life, God, Mother, Father of all of us. Thank you for the gift of Spiritism in our lives, inviting us to our daily regeneration. Thank you for our friends Leo, Isabella, and Mateo who came here today. And Leo for sharing the studies of these amazing books of light. May the Spiritist Society of Baltimore be always blessed in its faithful works. And may this friendship between our centers stay strong, for the work is yours. And may our nation, the United States of America, feel your blessings. And allow us to ask especially for our president and his team. May they feel your presence inviting them today, your divine nature, blooming in kindness, in caring, in solidarity. May peace be within our nation and the world today and always. And so be it. We're going to keep the lights dimmed so we can receive the blessed water as well. And wait just a little more. Yeah, TJ Maxx. There's no language of it. Oh, no, that's a loss. That's the thoughts. No, I can find a video, trust me. Yeah.